Welcome NHL 94 fans. This has been a video I've been wanting to do for quite a while, and today I'm going to be discussing player attributes, and I'm going to try to boil this down and break it down into a much simplified fashion, just the way the Genesis or Super Nintendo sees things. And I think we're all familiar with a lot of the attributes out there, like agility and speed or shot power, stuff like that. But what my goal here is to do is to just simplify things and hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to understand how things function under the hood of the console. And the info today that I'll be discussing is going to be the basis of several upcoming videos. So in those videos, I plan to reference quite a bit of the information I'm going to be talking about here in just a moment. So here we are. I have the game fired up, and we could look at, say, like Matthew Schneider, for instance. And we could look at the agility. We could look at the speed. We look at like the shot power. We could look at the shot accuracy. These are stuff we're all familiar with. We look at the numbers. We can interpret these numbers pretty easily. They're in a scale from 0 to 100. Actually, they're from 25 to 100, but we'll just call it 0 to 100 just to really simplify things further. But what if I were to tell you that the Super Nintendo or the Genesis sees things differently? So the console sees things, all these attributes, aside from weight. That's the only one that's not applicable here. We'll talk about that in a bit. But all the attributes you see, like the agility, speed, offensive awareness, defensive awareness, all that like that, it's on a scale of a 0 to 6. 0 to 6. Pretty simple. And all these attributes, aside from weight, is like that. That's the way the Genesis sees things. Might be a little confusing at first, but hopefully this could break us down. I could show you there's a very simple scale, and here it is. And if you look at the numbers, you can kind of understand what 0 is, what 1 would be, and 2 and 3, 4, 5, and 6. So to give the example, let's look at Matthew Schneider, and let's take a look at his agility. His agility is 50, and that would mean he is a 3 on the scale. And if we go look at his speed would be a 4. So, like I said, all these attributes, although they're from 25 to 100 or 0 to 100, depending on how you want to view things, they're actually 0 to 6. So Schneider's agility is a 3 and his speed is a 4. We could go down the list. We could go look at his shot power, for instance. And his shot power is a 3 and his shot accuracy is a high 2. So that's what he is. He is, as according to these ratings, 3 shot power, 2 shot accuracy. And that's the way they do this. So if you get a basis of Matthew Schneider, you see he has 3 agility, 4 speed, 3 shot power, and 2 shot accuracy. And these attributes are, like I mentioned, 0 to 6. But for weight, it's a little bit different. Weight goes from 0 to 15. So if you look at Matthew Schneider, his weight 196, and let's bring it up against the chart, he is a 7 weight. So understanding these numbers, they're going to be crucial for my next videos. So when you see a player attribute, remember, it is based on the 0 to 6 scale. And if you do that and you understand the scale system, well, it's going to be much easier to comprehend these next bunch of videos. A little confusing at first. Hopefully I boiled it down to make it easy for you to digest. These are the 2 tables which you're going to be referring to, the ones that are applicable to everything that's not weight, and the one that is applicable to weight. And one final point that I just want to drive home. These numbers, the 0 to 6 scale, they don't have to be whole numbers. So for any of the attributes, except for weight, these numbers could be something like 2.5, 3.9, 5.5, whatever. Like if you look at Matthew Schneider, let's use him as the example. His shot accuracy I mentioned was 45. Looking at the chart, that would be a high 2. A high 2 is better than a low 2. And a 2 will never be better than a 3 in shot power. Same in shot accuracy. Same in agility. Same in speed. So a 3 will always be better than a 2. A 4 will always be better than a 3. You get it. It's pretty simple stuff, but you have to wrap your head around the fact that this is a 0 to 6 scale when you digest and process player attributes. Weight is the only exception. Where the scale of 0 to 15, they are whole numbers. You can't, for example, have a 5.5 weight. It's either going to be a 5 weight or a 6 weight. I hope this makes a little more sense. With that, hope you enjoyed this video. It's not too confusing. And the next bunch of videos will hopefully make a lot more sense. So with that, take care.